Hey there, and welcome back. So this is going to be a completely different style video to what you're used to seeing on the channel. For starters, you can see me in person here. As a brief background to how this video came to be, there is another YouTuber based in Chicago called Legit Streetcars who I watch quite frequently, and he used to own an E320 CDI, which is the E-Class version of my car with a bigger engine strapped to it, and he used to do loads of modding content with that and occasionally some cheap fixes on it or fixing little bits of the engine. And this eventually inspired me to say, hey, I want to do something similar like that on my channel on occasions because I'm mainly tech-based, but occasionally some engine stuff wouldn't hurt. But at the time I had nothing to film. Then a couple of weeks ago I noticed that this car here decided to start spewing black smoke out of the back whenever I would accelerate really hard, and I traced this down to a clogged up intake manifold. So over the weekend I assembled a small group of friends, went to one of my friends' workshop and just started filming. Now normally I script all my videos, so this was like completely unscripted, so I do appear a bit nervous on camera just purely because I wasn't quite sure of what's going on and what we wanted to shoot, but I kind of wanted there to be a structure. It turned out there kind of was in the end, but there also wasn't a structure. So the first half of this video is kind of more entertaining, and even though I intended it to be a tutorial, I think you could still use it as a tutorial, but it's not really one. However, as you will soon see in the latter half of this video, the work I did on the intake manifold eventually ended up with me getting the car tuned with some really impressive results that I'll talk about later on in the video. So yeah, sit back and relax and watch this video. I hope you enjoy it. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. It would really help me out. Thank you very much. And on for the video. Alright, so the plan for attack... Alright, so the plan of attack... Alright, so the plan of attack for today is to remove the intake manifold and clean it. That will be done by removing the common rail, power steering, fuel filter, EGR, this bracket here, and then finally the intake manifold. So let's get started.
Are you sure you want to do this when the engine's warm?
Yeah. Okay, so judging by the fact it hasn't exploded yet, we should be okay. Yeah. Also, we should have probably disconnected the battery as the first thing.
You got an E30?
Better than
Ha! What have you got?
well, you go have a look.
Oh, let's have a look. Let's have a look.
I told you.
Are you okay?
Wait, what year is this one?
86.
I love how we're stacking cars.
What's been done on this?
The wiring up front there, trying to sort that out. Trying to bring it back to life.
This is awesome.
I think Ash has just fallen in love with his new car.
No, listen. It doesn't get any better than original, right? E30 M3.
That's decent.
This one?
But yeah, anyway, I've removed the common rail and all the fuel injectors as well, plugged them up with tin foil so that they don't get dirty, because a single speck of dust in this will possibly destroy an injector. So yeah, now to take the common rail out. For God's sake, this is going to be... Ow.
Dang.
These are very frustrating to take out.
What's this bolted to?
And this, I believe, is bolted to...
Right, you've got one there.
Yeah. There's another one around here somewhere.
No, there. There's
Yeah.
two. And it's... What did you use to remove this? Because it's the same size.
8mm. No, so look,
Hold on.
you've got these clips, right?
Yeah.
So they're like this by default.
Okay.
And if I take this,
You're supposed to pull that out.
there you go,
pull.
and then you
Right.
push it down and pull it.
Okay. But that hasn't popped out yet.
No, it hasn't.
There we go.
North Face do a load.
Jeez, that's one fat screw.
Now will it come off?
Let's see. Oh yeah, it's moving. Go back down there. See, it wants to go out.
Give that some love taps. Like you mean it, actually. Like you mean it. You're not going to get it out that way.
There we go.
Oh, it's coming.
Yep.
just coming. And this brute force.
Some of this you might have to mute because it goes really fucking loud. There we go. That's it. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You should have worn gloves.
I should have worn gloves.
There we go.
Oh my god.
It's on your belt.
That's all look at all that lovely carbon.
Oh!
And look at the other side.
Ew!
And look in the hole. So power steering pump has got 1, 2, 3 bolts, but then the fuel pump sits on top of the power steering pump. So to take the fuel filter out, you have to take the power steering pump out. And then that's also supported by another bracket here, which you have to take out first. You have to take this out, then the power steering pump, then this one out.
Why?
Well, because it's also bolted to the manifold. Yeah.
Oh,
You
God.
don't make this easy.
Well, you've got, first of all, you've got this in the way. Oh, is that part of this bracket?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Because the whole fuel rail should be able to lift out.
No one light a match.
So this and this is welded to this.
Yeah. Okay, so over there we've taken the fuel filter out. The power steering pump is now laid to the side over here. We now have access to the bolts to the actual intake manifold itself. Just have to remove the EGR valve and then we should be able to take this out. Also, since we are going to have to remove these 2 fuel lines, we're going to tape one of the fuel lines here and tape this side over here so we know these 2 are the same and these 2 are the same, since I believe these go to the fuel tank. Okay, so after much fussing around, we've managed to get the intake manifold out. Proved to be quite a bit more difficult than what the Whiz manual said it would be. So on this car you have this wiring loom which connects to the starter motor down there, the crank position sensor which is over there, and also the oil level sensor and another sensor over there which I don't quite know. We basically had to take the trays out of the car, unplug these 2 sensors to lift the wiring harness all the way up. And then with that we were able to free this and then take the manifold out, so now on for some satisfying cleaning. Alright, so it is the next day now. Typical English weather here, just rain outside. So last night after I took the manifold out, we ended up cleaning it. If you can see through here, it is quite a bit cleaner than it was, albeit it's not perfect, but it's far better. It was literally throwing up chunks when we were cleaning this. Managed to put the manifold back on, torqued all of the manifold bolts down to 15 Newton meters. There's 2 more bolts here that I need to put in with the frame which holds the power steering pump and fuel filter. And all that's left now is to kind of reassemble this utter mess over here. So I suppose this time I'll do it in the form of a time lapse. So I hope you guys enjoy that. Okay, so finally complete. Now I guess it's time to fire it up. I'll be priming the fuel pump a few times since we did lose quite a bit of fuel in the fuel lines, so there will be air in there. So we need to basically turn the ignition to position 2 and off a few times until it bleeds all the air out. And then we'll start it up and top up the coolant, since that did have to be drained in order to take the thermostat out earlier. So yeah, let's hope it goes well. So after I shot that clip of the engine starting, I took it round the block a few times, verified that there are no leaks in the intake, verified that there's no leaks on the fuel rail that we'd assembled, and I took the car back home. I then messaged one of my car hacking friends, Daniel, about the fact that I'd managed to finally fix the problem with the CDI, to which he then pointed me towards a guy called Sam, who is a UK contact for a South African-based tuning firm called RK Motion. So I headed out to London in order to meet him and get the car tuned. Due to the engine's intake now being clean of any carbon buildups and compression results from DAS showing that the engine still had really good compression, we were able to push the engine almost as far as it will go with its stock components without producing too much emissions such that the car would fail its MOT. I'll leave a link for RK Motion's website in the description, but they have representatives in many countries and have excellent service. They produced a custom map for my CDI, which went through multiple iterations of manual tweaking, working from the stock map of my engine's ECU as a base, rather than flashing a generic map designed for the OM646 engine in my car. This meant that the flashed map is only designed for my engine, taking into account the components and tolerances and its behaviour, as every engine is different, especially engines that are this old. The outcome of this tune was about 70 more brake horsepower than stock, which is actually quite impressive. Now you may be asking, how do I know exactly how much power I got without the use of a dyno? This is because I devised a way to measure the crank horsepower and torque figures being sent by my engine's ECU to the rest of the vehicle. The engine broadcasts this can frame, as well as this can frame, which when combined can give a very good indication as to how much the engine is performing now compared to what it did before. To keep things fair, both charts I will show account for an average of 3 runs, all runs being done on the same road in second gear from 1000 to 4500 RPM, which means I hit redline at about 40 miles an hour. So I quickly thought I would show you guys how I'm obtaining these CAN logs. So some of the CAN frames that I need in order to log torque from the engine are not available through the OBD port. Instead, they're only available through CAN-C. So this is the Arduino I have here from my head unit, and I've essentially attached 2 jumper wires from the CAN-C terminus I have here up to Machina's OBD gateway, which then houses a Machina M2. This M2 is running a firmware called M2 RET. I'll leave a link for that in the description. And essentially what it allows me to do from my laptop is I can now run CAN dump as if I would for any socket CAN device, and I can log CAN frames. Anyway, I then wrote a simple Python script to read the generated CAN logs, extracted the data as necessary, discarding all torque figures that were measured when I was not fully pressing the accelerator, and here is what the engine was doing before, and here's what the engine is doing now with the tune. As you can see, that is quite a considerable difference to performance. So, if you've come this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like if you did like it, or dislike if you disliked it, all that kind of malarkey, and leave a comment and all that. Let me know in the comments if you want me to do some more mechanical work to this vehicle, maybe upgrading a few things or whatnot. I'm really open to turning this car into potentially a mini project vehicle, as well as all the technical stuff I'm doing with my head unit and instrument cluster to this car. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.